together every single week with special guests. We have questions, which we will have, and answers, some. We have discussions, meditations, and of course, we have Kryon channeling. Well, this is a members meeting, as you know, and the differences between members and the free meetings is in the members portal, you have all manner of things. Did you know that there's an audio of every show by itself, standalone audio? That's for those who would just rather listen. There is, and not see my face. That's okay. That's all right. There is an index of every single show we've done. We've done over 50 now. And that index was created by Monica. Thank you very much. And that index lets you find all the shows, see what's happened in every single one, see who the guests were, what the topics were, even what happened in the Circle of 12. And the big one, all the replays of everything we've ever done belong to you. And if you're a member, and you would have to be to see this show, you would know that these replays are forever, and we keep making shows, so that library will continue to build. We are streaming. If it shuts down, if it stops and starts, you can get it sometimes by refreshing, you'll get it back, but if it continues, we just encourage you to go to the replay. Sometimes streaming is that way. We didn't create the program for it to be frustrating for any of you. So in the transcriptions of the chats that we see later, we see that some of you have some problems, but usually you can correct them. But if it happens continually, please just watch the replay. It's about an hour after the show, and you'll see it. So thank you all for being here, just as I've said, Monica.
Yes, indeed.
Thank you for being here.
I love it.
50 times you've been here, I think, or more.
Something like that.
Something
but
like
that's
that.
Also with some of our community. You've been here for every week that we've turned up.
That's right. We see that.
Yes,
since the very beginning.
Absolutely. Mm-hmm. And so it is with absolute pleasure that we move into question and answers that have been submitted by you all. And the first one comes from...
Do you want to talk about the questions and answers a little bit for those who have...
I can, as a recap, the guidelines for asking a question. Think about that question and how it will benefit others. Lee and I discourage deep and personal questions that we don't have the capacity to answer those really deep personal questions you're asking, and make them concise and short. And please make sure you also have a question in there. Sometimes people want to just tell us a life story. We do want to have a question so that we can answer it. And so the first question is actually going to be two questions because they were very similar in nature. One is from Yael from Israel. Shalom. And Yael is asking about dark magic. Does it exist? And does it work? Then we have Marie from Massachusetts in the US, and she's saying, I don't believe in the devil. However, some mediums talk about demons and evil intentioned elementals occupying certain locations. So Marie wants to know, can you please explain what these entities are and where do they come from? So all about dark magic and evil entities.
Before we begin, you know that in advance that Monica and I select these questions, and we're trying to select questions that are doozies. And what I mean by that, they'll be controversial, and we know it. But in that, we try to give you the answers that Kryon has given, and Monica knows this too, and she'll jump in when I've asked her to, if she can then complement it from what she's known that Kryon has said in the past. These are tough questions, and especially when we come to that subject of demons and evil spirits and all. So there's two answers because there's two questions. From Kryon. Dark magic works if you allow it. You can even create it. So I guess you might say it exists, absolutely. But it's created by human beings. Human beings are powerful in their intent, so yes, it is there. It can also bounce right off of you if you're filled with light and do not give it any power. So the best example of this is something that has been studied, and it is voodoo. It works on those who are afraid of it. It does not work on those who have never heard of it. Now that's been tested. It's cultural. I've actually had an experience, just for those of you listening, about this very thing, with people sending dark energy to me. I found out later, on my first visit to the United Nations, there was a whole group of people who gathered together who didn't like the UN. They didn't see a purpose for putting light there. I was there channeling Kryon at the United Nations. They gathered in order to send dark energy to that meeting. I never felt better in my life. And so you see, it has to be a cultural thing. You have to agree with it. You'd have to know. Perhaps if somebody said they were going to do it, I might actually have felt it or worried about it. That's how it works. So that's the answer, the best answer I can give to question 1. So I tell you it is controversy, because many people say, well, yes, there are demons, and I believe in Kryon says we can create as humans all the dark energy you can imagine, just like we can create light. So it's there, and it's creatable, as you know. I mean, you've seen who in history has done what. You know very much that that's very evil, and it's been created by the person. Answer 2 is about that which remains and felt in the earth. So the grid can remember anything that happens. Do you remember this? This is from Kryon's teaching, from Monica's book, and all that in the grids. Therefore, negativity, fear, darkness, and anger can linger in a place for years and years, because the crystalline grid remembers emotions and feelings. This is why cemeteries, battlefields, can be sensed by actually almost anyone, and those can feel things, can feel all that was going on. It may seem as though the darkness is often alive with evil, but again, this is how we interpret fear. We create the entities and even give them names. That's humans who have done that. That's the power of human consciousness. Kryon says this: there have been no evil entities created that would take away your light. Instead, you willingly give it to the darkness and create much more than ever was there. This may smack you right now, because you may never have heard Kryon talk about evil, demons, entities, saying repeatedly, this is human creation. It is very fearful. It can indeed hurt you. And that is especially if you buy into it. But if you have even a little light, that will then cover all that darkness, and that's what we teach. So I'm glad that question is out in the open, and I've answered it the best I could.
Yes, and again, Lee and I give you perspectives from the channeled information from Kryon, and so it's wonderful that Kryon is able to enlighten us on some of these subjects. So the next question comes from Robert. Robert is in Montreal in Canada. And Robert asks, what do you mean when you said that we can choose God or not? Can we choose God or not? This is Robert's question.
Yeah, that's a good question, because if you're not really tuned into how Kryon talks, you wouldn't really know what that means. And this is always a metaphor, and Kryon has often used some really profound ideas metaphorically. And so I know what it is when I'm channeling it, but basically it's about our free choice to choose light or not without any judgment. So it's a metaphor. You can choose light, you can choose darkness, and there's no punishment. You are able, with all that is here in front of you and listening to this program, to do whatever you choose without judgment. I like that for numbers of reasons. That's not in your subconscious if you've ever come from any kind of organized religion which says you're going to be judged on everything you do. You can choose the high road or the low road. That's up to you. Free choice. Without judgment, especially without judgment from this beautiful God that we have. You can choose to live a longer, more peaceful life or not. This is, again, you can choose God or not. That is your free choice without any judgment.
I love that. I love that phrase where God gives you free choice and you are not judged on your choice. So, beautiful question and a beautiful answer. So now we have another question from Michelle. Michelle is in Tucson, Arizona. And Michelle says, I have full acceptance of Kryon's teaching, and everything that Kryon says makes sense. And I do feel that there is this greater truth. However, can you please explain why I still have this feeling of being left out, this feeling of not belonging, and therefore I have yet to experience the grandness of my soul. What advice do you have for Michelle, who feels left out and not belonging?
Michelle, you are not alone, and there's so many who are having trouble actually crossing the bridge, and you're not really aware you haven't crossed it. Acceptance of the message, understanding, agreeing of the message is not quite enough. And you would think it would be. You'd think, well, I agree with it, I see it, it's correct, but I'm still feeling left out. It's because you're not, and so many are not, actually owning the information enough to implement it. So you could say, I believe that exercise will make me healthier. Why am I, therefore, not healthier? And the answer is because you're not exercising. That's a metaphor. That's not for you, Michelle. You may exercise. But you have to own the information. I learned this as well. You've got to cognize this information that you agree with as your own. Then start implementing the instructions of Kryon in order to be included in the grandness of your soul. Understanding and agreeing isn't enough. Now, I want to just give you an example of this. It's a really profound example. It's like what I see absolutely in meditators, being in bliss is not enough because you're not creating it, you're just being in it. Let me show you an example. I know that there are meditators on this planet who meditate for hours and hours. But then as soon as they stop, all the awful things in their life race back to their minds. Therefore, the meditation actually becomes a pill instead of the tool it's meant to be. So they understand that meditation is accurate and it's true and it's all of that, but they haven't cognized truly what it's for and what to do with it. They haven't implemented the attributes that it was designed for. So instead, it becomes a covering. Those who may come to Circle of 12, they'll say, well, I love every Wednesday. I come to Circle of 12, and then I feel bad on Monday and Tuesday and Thursday and Friday, Saturday, Sunday. And that's the same thing. And so they're coming there just for the immersing of it. I want to tell you that this is not why we do Circle of 12. We do it so that it stays with you. If you will cognize what we're doing and what we're saying and actually go there the best you can, it sticks. And so this question just leads into why we're doing what we're doing, and we've done it for a year. We're doing it so this is not an entertainment. It's not something just to make you feel good for a little while, and it's great to have my family here, and thank you. But I want you to walk away with stuff that you didn't have before. Kryon is always saying, leave this place differently from the way you came. And now you know why that is said. And so it's about cognizing truth for you, for your own personal life, and then going from the place, and it may be Circle of 12, differently. And then when you come back, perhaps you get a little more. And then when you come back, perhaps you get a little more. Yeah. And so it becomes a place where not only are you fed, but it starts to change your health because of what you're being fed.
Yeah.
And then suddenly you find you are living differently.
I think all these questions really show us how individual and unique we all are.
Oh, boy.
And I'm glad you mentioned the purpose of why we're doing the Circle of 12. And the other thing to just touch on is that every episode we have a guest that we chat with, and they share their knowledge and information. And I really encourage you to explore those guests that you resonate with. And for me, Michelle, what jumps out is the words you said where you feel alone or not belonging. Mm-hmm. And immediately I start thinking about Isabel Benarus and her bioreprogramming body of work. And I'm just so curious, what was happening during your mother's pregnancy? I mean, we download those parental projects from our mother and our father. And so that's just one aspect of something for you to explore.
Let's say, Michelle, I claim that you are not alone and this is your family. You belong here.
Absolutely.
And we welcome you.
Absolutely.
And there is no judgment. So from now on, you're not alone, especially what we just have. Because your culture supported the Bengal tiger fear. Now, this is just a metaphor. But to show you that the subconscious, once it has the programming, it doesn't let go. We speak of these things. One of the truisms spoken even today, and that is your mind does not know the difference between reality and imagination. And you can use that. That is perhaps one of the greatest principles at the moment that will give you health. If you can go to a place where there is no Bengal tiger in your mind, even if there is one, you will start to understand your fear and to be able to then go beyond it. A year ago, when I told my partner that Healing Wednesday would begin, from a very practical situation, a practical stance, there was those who had to design that which you see, which you would call the banner, the type, the graphics, and all of that. And one of the things that was never designed, one of the things that I told him to put there are a couple of words: a safe place. The circle of 12 is a safe place. And that is one of the attributes of the feeling that is going to go beyond the subconscious and void it. You are safe when you can drop into your heart and feel that all around you is not just safe, but perfect and beautiful. There were other things this very day that were presented and moved on to other things so quickly. The ability to concentrate on awareness of parts of your body. And you perhaps some of you got to feel that you actually had a result in the part of the body that was being concentrated on. Do you realize that that is what I have been telling you for years? You can talk to your body, and your awareness is your innate will cooperate. You talk to your hand, you talk to your stomach, and it starts to react. Because your consciousness is then focusing on a part. That alone should prove that innate is real. That alone should prove that you have control over all parts of your body. But the most important things that were studied this day were the fact that your body can relate to those things which you can imagine. This is the secret so many times for the healing that you don't even understand. For decades, one of the things that has really been confusing statistics in medicine, in allopathic medicine, is the sugar-coated pill. The placebo effect, truly, what they say disturbs the curve of the analytics of chemistry. They cannot prove the efficacy of a pill when they have the placebo effect interrupting all of the diagnostics. You realize what's going on. Someone takes that pill, which has nothing in it, and in their imagination, and what they're told is this is going to help you. And the imagination, that safe place, finally I have something that's going to help me. And they take the pill and it helps them. And you realize there was nothing in the pill. That placebo effect, dear ones, is the future, not allopathic medicine. The consciousness that can take over through that imagination or through that belief of what you can do yourself. If you believe it, it can be. So many things today are starting to occur. But the biggest one is, how can you circumvent the programming that you have received in an old energy that has that metaphor, that fear of the Bengal tiger? That's a metaphor for being in the old energy of your culture or at work or relationships. You still expect the things that happened then. And that's not necessarily what's going to happen now. The circle of 12 was built for this, to cross the bridge and go to a place where you start to imagine a reality that actually exists to help you to understand how to feel release, how to feel that the healing that you have come for is not only happening, but you deserve it. I want you to look at this with me. We're about to cross the bridge again. We're going to go into the theater yet again, and we're going to start doing some of the things we've done in the last year a little differently. But just because we've done them one time does not mean that we have to do something else. Repetition is so important, especially the most profound kinds of things that have happened to you. Let's do them again. Here is that bridge after a year. Some of you knew, perhaps need explanation, others do not. It is the bridge between what you think you know and what you don't. It's a bridge between a linear world and a multidimensional world. It's a bridge that when you cross it with intent, you go to a place that may make no sense. But in that place, there would be what some call magic. It's not magic. It's simply a disabling of all of those things that you think you know that keep you from your magnificence. I want you to take my hand right now. Let's cross the bridge together. Oh, for some of you, this is what you wait for. It's a safe place we go to, dear ones, a safe place. It's not a place that's going to capture your soul or give you incorrect information, because you walk into the purity of your own soul. You walk into a soup that is truth. I say a soup because it's thick with understanding and truths perhaps that need to be told to you beyond anything that was ever told. And the biggest one is that there's so much more to you than you've ever imagined. And we go to this place that we go to every single time, and each time, with the exception of a few times which we may deviate, but mostly we go to this theater. And in order to get there, the metaphor is we go through a portal, a door, which is just one of perhaps many doors in this place that is your soul. We have crossed the bridge from what you will call your linear self, your body, to your higher self, the soul. We've crossed the bridge from you to you. So you're not going to a place that is beyond yourself. You go to a place that is within yourself, that appears to be beyond yourself, but it isn't. It's simply the magnificent place that you were created for. And now you are here. Let's go to that theater simply one more time. There are those who look forward to this and you say, I want to see that portal, that door again. So let's go there. Imagination is a wonderful thing, but some who do not have it, we say to you, draw a door on a piece of paper and walk through it in your mind. Everyone knows what a door looks like. It's not that much of a stretch. And if you can then imagine perhaps drawing that door and putting some writing on the top in a language you can't explain. Put some scratching or something to simulate a language that you don't know or can't understand, and understand that is your sacred name. You can't read it because it will never be known to you while you're on this planet, but it is known to all that which is God. That is the name of your soul, known by God. You know it too when you're not here, because it is eternal and you are eternal. That door, that portal, has your name on it, is a metaphor, significance that says, this is you, go through it, open the door, you got the key, let's go in. And inside that place is this beautiful theater. You walk down into that circle and around and up onto that stage, and each time we have something to tell you about who is watching, if anyone, what is going to happen, how many chairs may be on the stage, and today there is again one, for we're going to repeat something. Today's channel was about soul sharing, the multifacetedness of a soul of yours that doesn't just have you in it. If you missed the channeling, please go back and listen. It's going to explain so much of what happens next. If indeed your soul is filled with an akash of those you've loved and lost, and also with you who shared it with those when you went past from earth across the veil, that means it is truly filled with a soul family that you have known through the years of all of your lifetimes. You have shared time and love with everyone in this multifaceted soup of your soul that is shared with so many, but is still yours. That bowl of water that has so many molecules of water of them and you in it, but it's still your bowl. Complex? Yes, but you don't have to know about it other to acknowledge its beauty and the fact that it works. I want you to sit in the chair. That's not hard to imagine. Sitting in the chair, a metaphor for relaxation, for what is to come, for being prepared. Whatever is your stance, perhaps with your hands out on your knees, perhaps with your eyes closed, ready for something. I want you to acknowledge that in your soul, all of this energy of the others, and it's all love energy, is there. Nothing but love energy, for that is the way it works. Soul sharing, soul splitting works with those you've loved. It also involves the future, which you can't understand yet, but it's a multidimensional soul. And they're all now going to be revealed in the audience, and the lights are going to come up. If you could see this in a multidimensional way, it would take your breath away right now. It would take your breath away, because you'd recognize so many of them. Even those that you don't know in this lifetime, in a multidimensional way, you would recognize them. Oh my. And you would see those lifetimes and lifetimes you've loved, you've been with, your children when you passed over, who grieved after you when you were trying to reach through the veil to tell them, I'm still with you, I'm still with you, I'm still with you. They're here. Though you've loved and lost even in this life, who reached through the veil right now, I want to say, we're here, we're here. It's all there, it's all there. I want you to spend time right now, because this is the most healing thing that could ever happen to you. I want you to feel the safety of this Akashic experience, because they are in your soul forever. It's called soul family. Dear ones, and every single one of you participate in this grand, loving, kind system. I want you to sit and just listen and feel what they are saying in their eyes and in their thoughts as they smile at you. And if they had one thing to say to you right now, they would say, be still and feel that you are safe in the arms of Spirit, and that your soul is precious. Feel the healing energy in that safe place, and let your cells, your three-dimensional cells, start to vibrate and feel all of this, because they will get out of 3D and go to that place of magic. Stay. And so it is.
Into your body, bring your awareness back into the room, because in this next section, it's a little more dynamic And we're going to have the dynamic duo, Lee.
We are.
We have two brothers joining us.
But what's unusual and different this time is we have been on their show first.
Yes, we have.
Right, and that's where we actually met these gentlemen. So.
Absolutely. So today we're going to be talking to Guy and Elan Thirdman, and let's just see that they're both there. So Guy, are you there?
Got you loud and clear. Yep.
Wonderful. And Elan, are you there?
I am.
Woohoo! Wonderful. Well, let's tell everyone about these brothers.
All right. Guy and Elan are both blood brothers. They are real blood brothers and the founders of Sattorii Prime. They've spoken on stages all over the world. They've coached over 20,000 people in the fields of leadership. 20,000 people.
Yeah.
I always go, whoa, something like personal development and spiritual growth.
Now, they were born in the port mountain city of beautiful Haifa, Israel. I've been there, Lee and I've been there, and we can attest. It truly is a beautiful city. And they soon immigrated to the east coast of the US in 1989, along with their parents, in search of a better life. After tremendous success in the US in the early 2000s, they lost everything in the 2008 depression.
The pursuit of personal development began as many beautiful accidents often do. Guy was looking for an opportunity to help himself after battling depression and anger for over 7 years. Does that sound familiar to anybody here? In 2003, Guy started working on a personal development course which dramatically turned his life around, as well as his entire family.
Now, eventually, this led to the establishment of Sattorii Prime in June of 2011. And the intention of Sattorii Prime is to help as many people possible dramatically transform their lives, to heal themselves, and in the process to raise global consciousness. Now, that is still the driving force behind absolutely everything that these brothers create today. They believe that there is no cap to the amount of growth a human can experience.
I love that. That's a great statement. Mm-hmm. Today, they've become a resource and a beacon of inspiration to thousands of people in over 30 countries who follow their conscious, elevating, and healing modalities. Here's something from the two of them. It's a statement. It is your view of life and the quality of the energy behind your actions that will determine the results of your own life. A quote, Einstein was famously quoted as saying, there are two ways to live your life. One is though nothing is a miracle. The other is though everything is a miracle. Gentlemen, welcome to our show. Tell us all about what's happened in your life.
So good to be here. Yeah, go ahead, bro.
It would be great if Lee could just introduce us always. It's just like, that's the voice that I want introducing me.
Okay, I'll be here. You can just wake me up anytime and I'll just do that. That'd be great.
Snap the fingers.
Yeah, snapping the fingers. Here's Lee. First of all, I just want to say what an honor it is to be on the show. We've been longtime listeners, followers of Kryon as well. So it's just a bit surreal to hear Lee talking and knowing that it's actually coming at us. So thank you guys so much for allowing us to be here with you. I'm going to go just jump right in and hopefully I'm going to share a little bit of our story, but really we want to talk to the audience and have them see that, a journey is a journey, right? So Guy and I started our personal development journey, like you said, in 2003. And at that time, we were very, very young. Guy was 19, I was 21. And at that time, the idea of this subtle voice, right? When someone told me the first time that there was this voice in my head that wasn't actually me, that was like being unplugged from the matrix. It was the most surreal experience. I remember just sitting there grappling with myself like, oh, this thing that's been beating me up and telling me that I'm not good enough and that I need to do this more and I'm not smart enough and I'm too young and all of these things is not me. And that took us down this very long path because we became obsessed with the mindset world. We read every book that we can get our hands on. We had mentors, we had coaches. And And we delved deep into that world. And during that time that Monica had mentioned in 2008, technically from 2008, we were okay for about a year and a half, 2 years. And in 2010, we just lost everything. Mm-hmm. And it was at that time, just kind of like when we deal with difficult situations, right? All this stuff arises. And a lot of the time, the stuff that you thought you handled just comes bubbling right up to the surface. And it was at that time that I realized that the tools that we had been creating over that period of time weren't going to be the tools that would get us to this next stage. And so we began searching, looking here, meditations, breath work, all of these different things. And it wasn't until I would say we both started working with plant medicine that we were open to the idea that there's this whole other world that we had never experienced. A world of energy, a world of frequency, a world of the feminine. Both Guy and I don't know if you guys can see us, tend to be very, masculine type guys. And we were just doers, achievers, made things happen. And when we hit that wall, it kind of shook everything up. And so that really started to take us down this other path, which is where we're at today. And so today, and guys are going to talk about this, we have, instead of working on the subtle mind awareness, we've developed something that we've called the awareness effect, which actually creates the subtle body awareness. So I'm going to have guys start to kind of extrapolate on that.
Yeah, so just to kind of pick up where he left off, something that we noticed was kind of like a roadblock for us in our growth, and also for a roadblock with clients, is that they would read the books, take the courses, have the teachers, but no matter how much work they actually did, it was as if the mind just simply cannot access what's happening in the body. So if you're having, an experience, you're walking into a room with a new group of people, or doing an interview, or anything that you might be doing, right? The first thing that's going to happen is you are going to have some kind of sensation in your body. And then you're going to have this interpretation machine that's up here looking down, and it's going to suss out the situation and figure out which program to run in that moment in order to either have you feel safe or deal with the anxiety or stress and overwhelm that might be in the system. And so what we saw is no matter how much education we had or how much understanding we had about mindset development, about human development, about the way the mind worked, is that none of that gives you access and be able to control this experience that you're having inside the body. And so we started realizing that if we don't become energetically aware, we just are never going to get to the root cause of the problem. And so when we see people out there struggling, it's as if they're looking at a tree and they're really aware of the branches and the leaves, and they just keep cutting those down, keep cutting them down. But no matter how much you cut those down, of course, the tree is going to continue to grow, give you new branches and new leaves. So we really wanted to get to the root. And so at some point, after we kind of go through more of the interview process, maybe towards the end of this, we'll give a little taster for people to start pointing at how you can access some of the energetic parts of yourself. And the beautiful part is once you get into the energetics, once you get into the awareness, awareness has this beautiful effect where it just starts unbinding itself. So if you imagine that all these programs that you're running are just like a shoelace that you've been tying knots over and over and over and over again throughout your entire life, awareness has this effect of starting to unbind those things naturally. And so the body can get to a place of well-being, cultivate safety. And it's a really different experience of life to be lived when you are not responding to what's happening to you from a fight or flight response, but you're actually responding from a place of safety, well-being. And that's kind of the line that Lee was reading, is that we believe that the actions that people are taking in life truly don't matter as much of the quality of the energy that's sourcing that action. And so you can go do 1,000 things to try to resolve, areas like relationships, health, and wealth in your life. But when the energy behind that's sourcing the action is fear or anxiety, it's kind of like a boomerang effect. Whatever you're creating ultimately will create more fear. Ultimately will create more anxiety in your life. So we really, really want to focus on starting to have some kind of a practice that before we do something in our lives, whether it's in our business or relationships or around money, is that we bring ourselves to a place of neutrality, a place of compassion, and start acting from there so that the resource of that action is a place of highly cultivated energy. And then we start seeing just absolutely magical things happen in our lives and other people's lives as well.
Yeah, like the part that really shifted was we realized that managing these parts and managing your patterns and learning about why and how they got created, mom did this when I was 3 or dad didn't do that or whatever. It gave you really good understanding, but it did little to actually change the actions and it from happening again. It's like, I don't want to yell at my wife, so I'm going to read all these books. Okay, how do I know? Oh, well, I yell because this happens and I get upset. Okay. And then in the moment, like, here you are again. And so we got less interested in managing and more interested in healing. And something that Kryon shared a while, which I actually have here on my computer on a Post-it, is in the feeling is the teaching. Mm-hmm. And that kind of became our mantra because Guy at one point said this line and I was like, oh my God, that's what it's about. Everyone in this world is trying to make themselves feel better. Like being happy is somehow the goal or being joyful is somehow the goal. And he said, stop trying to make yourself feel better and get better at feeling. Because what happened is when sad became not okay or when anger became not okay, and you were really, really young, you weren't consciously making these decisions. We all basically went and like, turn the volume down on sad, turn the volume down on anger, turn the volume down on whatever it might be, right? But I tell people there is no like intricate volume knobs. You don't just turn sad down, you're turning the master volume down. And by virtue, you're turning love down, joy down, peace, well-being. Everything gets muted as you keep cranking this down. And what we have been at is, okay, well, let's open ourselves back up to allow ourselves to feel all of these things. And as we started to explore that, incredible things started to happen. And this is Healing Wednesdays, right? So it's like the healing started to occur without the mind being there trying to control everything. Guy used that knots, right? So you can imagine there's thousands upon thousands of these knots. But the mind goes, okay, I want to get to that one in that place, in that middle. Like, I want to release that one. But if you've ever messed with knots, like you can't get to that one. There's this other layer, another layer, another layer. And the reason people keep bouncing off and having these, habitual patterns that they keep falling into is because we're not able to deal with what is actually causing the reaction. What is having the mind look down and go, this is not okay. We got to fix this now. And then pulling us out. So all of our practices have started to take ourselves and our clients into that felt sense. And when you do that, instead of putting a Band-Aid and then the Band-Aid falls off and you're right back at it, it's like you heal it and it's gone. And that part is gone. And our clients report that they'll have these moments where their mom or dad will say something, or their partner or their kids or their boss will say something. And they're so habitually triggered to respond a certain way, and they don't. And they have this kind of like whole moment where the mind is almost waiting. It's like, okay, response coming in 3, 2, 1, and it doesn't. And it's like, wait, nothing? Like, you're not going to respond? And that's when we know that true healing has taken place. It's like that loose wire inside that people can touch and you just zap is gone. So, bro, I don't know if you want to say something, or maybe we just even take them into that little bit of the awareness exercise.
Sure, we can do that. Yeah, it's become really apparent to us that there's, I'm sure, right, for Lee too, when he's channeling, there's an intelligent field. And most of humanity has not been educated on how to connect to that. We're very much operating from a localized, linear thinking, conditioned mind, right? So the beginning for us, I think, to start creating freedom is to find, how do you unlocalize? How do you view and operate from a non-conditioned mind? And that to us is really where the magic starts happening. And so I'll just take like everyone here through a quick demo, if you guys don't mind.
Yes, we'd love that.
We want that very much. Yeah,
and I love the connection between the mind is very important, but you've tapped on a very important element.
You really have.
Which is emotions and feelings.
Feelings.
So what you said is, if you're stuck, there's an emotion in there that is either being suppressed, ignored, dismissed, and what you said, the healing is in the feeling. And this is critical for anyone who wants to make long-lasting change in life. So we're ready.
We're ready.
Couldn't agree more. Yeah, Ken Wilber talks about just 2 paths for enlightenment: the growing up work and waking up work, right? So many people have access to growing up work, psychology, mindset, linguistics. Right now, we're going to bridge that and kind of create a little bit of more of the waking up work with a touch of the growing up work. And it's that bridge that's really, really important. So very simple demo here. We're going to just, if you guys want to play along, just lift up our left or our right hands, just like that. And what I'm going to ask the viewers to do, and Lee and Monica as well, is instead of looking at the hand, and if it's helpful, you can close your eyes, but instead of looking at your hand, just gently placing awareness on your hand. Okay, so just gently placing awareness on your hand.
And for some of you out there, it might even be easier to just close your eyes.
Yeah, just so you're not looking at it. So again, the idea is not to look at the hand, just gently placing awareness on the hand. And as we gently place awareness on the hand, we're just going to notice what we notice about the hand. And so usually we have, a group of people in front of us, but just to kind of move things along, usually people report something like heat, increased sense of vibration, sometimes cooling, maybe a tingling, right, that they're starting to notice. And some people experience numbness. And I want anybody who's doing this exercise, if what you feel is numb, to recognize numbness as not the absence of sensation. That is the sensation. That's what your system feels. Okay. So just a quick note about that. I want you to notice that we didn't give you instructions on how to do that, like how to place awareness. Placing awareness is innate. And we're actually just using the hand as a guidepost, because really what we're just doing is we're moving awareness, unlocalizing it from mind, placing it here in this space that we're calling our hand. And we're using the hand as this kind of modality in order to feel the space, almost like an antenna. And so we've all probably heard the line of where awareness goes, energy flows. And that's actually exactly what's happening. We're using our awareness. And as we focus awareness, energy is actually localizing in the space where our hand is. And even more, the chi acts like a magnet and moves the blood flow up the hand. And so we're starting to experience different things, the spiritual aspects and esoteric of energy, and also the physical, where blood is moving up towards the hand. If you've ever heard of yogis that heal the body faster, this is essentially how. It's just focused awareness, and then more nutrients come to that part of the body. Okay, so just to kind of continue the demo, putting our hands down, just at the speed of awareness, just moving the awareness now towards the left foot. And again, just noticing how quickly we start just noticing more sensations in our left foot. And just see how that feels for you. And so to kind of offer for the logical mind here, this is the beginning of having some kind of subtle, energetic, and body awareness, right? That's all we're doing here, is we're just kind of creating that gap, and we're starting to notice sensation in the body. And so Monica mentioned emotion, and she's right, but emotion is more like the judgment the mind has of sensation in the body. Like if I think, oh, I'm sad right now, that's my mind interpreting sensation. So I'm not in the direct experience. And that's where people get lost in the minutia, right? Because it's, oh, this and that. So I'm going to have you just gently bring your awareness towards the center channel of your body, specifically the stomach. We've all heard of the chakra systems and the 7 chakras, and there are many more, but we're going to just keep it nice and basic here. And so just gently bringing that same awareness that you brought to the hand into the foot towards your belly. And something to know about the belly, and as we kind of explore this together, is that the belly is not a two-dimensional object. It is a three-dimensional object. So just kind of visualizing that there's a front and a back, two different sides, and an inside and an outside. So see what it's like to bring your awareness just to the top of the belly. And then just, again, well, we're just noticing a sensation. Doesn't matter what sensation, we're just noticing sensation. And then again, just bringing it toward the center of the stomach, like the inside. And noticing also just how pinpoint accurate awareness could be. It could be either a millimeter of awareness, like a point of reference, or it could be awareness of the entire stomach. Okay. And so again, we're just bringing into awareness this subtle energy flow that's in the body. And for some of you guys, you really may not feel anything. There may be a complete stagnation of energy. And so you're going to have to start with numbness. Okay. So why is this useful? Why is this effective? Okay. So what we teach is there's kind of like a two-part thing here, because there's one thing with just like looking at sensation in the body from the conditioned and judgmental mind. And when we do that, it's the same way of looking at a child when you're judging the child, right? Like nobody looks at a 3-year-old and is like harshly judging them, right? Because what the child wants, what our inner being sort of wants, is just like a child that has this reach and response kind of mechanism. And it's looking for a certain quality of presence from you in order to soothe itself. Right. So like children, for example, don't have very developed nervous systems. So when they're reaching for the parent, what they're actually looking to is energetically connect with the parent. And they're actually looking to mirror the parent's nervous system in order to soothe their own bodies. It's only later on that the body learns to downregulate the nervous system by itself. And for many of us, it actually doesn't downregulate at all. We're stuck in fight or flight responses. Okay. So why this is effective is when we start mapping our subtle energetics like this, and we learn how to unlocalize our awareness at the same time, right? So it's a different quality of view, and we're not going to get into that here, but that's kind of the foundation of what we teach is how to find this higher state awareness, and then how to view the center channel of the body from a certain awareness. And so right now is just kind of another test. Bring in some circumstance in your life into like your intention and your awareness, something that you're struggling with, usually around relationships or health or wealth, those kind of areas usually summarize where most people are struggling with.
And
yeah, go ahead, bro.
Out here that the body doesn't know the difference between something happening in real time and something happening in your mind's eye. It's going to respond the same way. I mean, just the other day I was telling guys, so we just moved from New York to Florida. My kids joined a new school. And my 8-year-old daughter walked into like a meeting with a whole bunch of kids that was organized and had a full-blown anxiety attack. Now, she didn't know, right? Because she's 8 and all these things are happening in her stomach, right? Just like all of us have had happen many a times. But for her, that sensation was so much. In other words, like when energy hits our system and the charge is too great.
That's right.
And we don't know how to dissipate that energy, your mind is going to look at that as like DEFCON 12. We got it, like all systems.